Shalom Alakim, peace be on you, Yisrael, Yehonathan we with you here humbly so, what they call the 5th of June. The headlights and a little vibe in it, Matthew Mickens and Highway Travelers. Michael Mickens and the Highway Travelers says we are free at last. The 144,000 and the uncountable number is what we're going to talk about today. Now last week, just wrapping up about the three angels message, as y'all call it, and we learned that they were sent to Babylon. This is who the Malachim was sent to Babylon, the Western world, of which United States of America is the chief of. And this is fittingly because we know that this is where Ephraim was shipped off to, the 10 northern tribes, to salt the Western world. So this is where the three Malachim's messages go to. Because remember, Yahweh said in Matthew 24:14 that the end could not come until this message was preached into all the world. Obviously, that can never happen because someone's always going to not hear it. Somebody's always going to die before they're hearing it. But when the whole world is shut down after that 6 seal plague earthquake, and then you have the resurrection, the first resurrection, the world will be shut down, all technology will be shut down. They will have everyone's attention. And in Psalm 22, though he talks about even those who cannot keep themselves alive will remain alive. Everyone's going to hear that message for approximately, I believe, like 3 years. So this message will indeed go to all the world for judgment on those who would not shema. And we also talked about the importance of seeing Yahweh in everything. He is the X-Man, I've been calling him. The X-Man. Everything, you know, right on the X, in the middle of the X, you put a dot right there. That's him right there. Everything from heaven comes down to him to that point, and everything from earth comes up to that point. Just give you a few scriptures. For instance, John 5:39, Yahweh says, in the volume of the book, it speaks to me. Actually, he says that in Psalm 40:7. The volume of the book speaks to me. But in John 5:39, he says, you search the scriptures. They testify of me. The scriptures, everything you read in this book, if you cannot connect it to Yahweh then you have some learning to do. There's a learning curve there. Genesis 28:12 is Jacob's ladder dream. And in that ladder dream, there's a word, a Hebrew word used only one time in the entire Bible. Whenever you encounter a word that's only used one time, you need to investigate that word because it's extreme importance because it's only used one time. And that word is sulam. And today, our scientists or geneticists, whatever call it, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. That ladder, that double helix ladder, the Hebrew word is sulam. And it went from Jacob to heaven. That showed a genetic connection between Jacob's seed and Hashmayim. Those who are from Jacob are the ones set who are connected to the covenant of Yahweh and Hashmayim. This second witness in the so-called New Testament, the Brit Hadashah, Yahweh testifies of in John 1:51. In Yachanan 1:51, Yahweh says that you will see heaven, angels ascending and descending from him. So he is saying that he is genetic descendant from Jacob, and now in John 1:51, you're going to see all of the heavenly hosts ascending and descending from him here on earth. Yahweh indeed is the X-Man. Everything comes through him. It comes through him. Without him, you have nothing. And in Ephesians 1:10 talks about, actually Ephesians 3:15 talks about how the whole family of heaven and earth is named after him. He has a family name. There's a family name associated with Yahweh. Ephesians 1:10 says that in this dispensation of the fullness of times, that he might gather together in one all things in the Messiah, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, in him. Ephesians 1:10 says everything from heaven and earth comes through him. He is the X-Man. And this is why in Ephesians 3:15 you see that all those who are in him have a family name. You're going to be given a new name, we're told in Revelations. A new name, I think it's Revelations 2 and also again in Revelations 3. Then we find in Colossians 1:16, which I want to read. And it reads, I'm talking about the importance of Yahweh Shua, because we're going to talk about what the anti-Yahweh Shua is. In Colossians 1:16, this is not idle time here. This is very important, these scriptures I'm giving you. For by him all things were created. Thou art in Hashemayim, and thou art on Eretz, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created through him and for him. Let's go down to verse 20. And by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made shalom through the dome of the tree, the blood of the tree. This, you think this is important? How all things in Philippians 2:10 it says, to this man, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. If you ain't got a tongue, you'll get one that day. You ain't got knees, you will have them that day. And this is not just man, this is beast. Every living thing, the trees are going to bow down to this man. Do you think it's important? Do you think it's important? It's so important, I'm going to just give you, so you can get your pen and paper ready, just to write these scriptures down, that shows that Yahweh Shua is the X-Man, that all things go through him. So if you want to get anywhere in everlasting life, you're going to have a relationship with this man. John 5:39, Psalm 40:7, Genesis 28:12, John 1:51, Ephesians 1:10, Ephesians 3:15, Colossians 1:16 and 20, and Philippians 2:10. So just read, that's just a few scriptures I came up with last week to let you know how important this man is. So we need to have a relationship with him. Why? Because of what is the anti-Messiah? If all these things are pro-Yahweh Shua HaMashiach, what is the anti-Messiah? 1 John 2:22. 1 John 2:22. We talked about this. This is still reviewing some from last week about the three witnesses. So 1 John 2:22 reads, who is a liar but he who denies that Yahweh Shua is HaMashiach? He is an anti-Messiah who denies the Ab, what you call father, and the Bane, what you call son. So this is not Yehonatan Dawid saying this. It is anti-Messianic to deny Yahweh Shua. This is what Yochanan, who laid on his chest, who empirically dealt with this man for a period of 3 years. He says in the very beginning of the letter, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked on, and our hands have handled concerning the word of life. The life that was manifested, we have seen and bear witness, and declared to you the eternal life which was with the Father and was manifested to us. That which we have seen and heard, we declare to you, that you may also have fellowship with us. And truly our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. That's what Yochanan said. How many people ever existed in the history of the universe who can open up a letter like that, who have empirical evidence of this man and saying, so you cannot question what I'm saying. You are anti-Messianic if you don't believe in Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. We know that the name Jesus didn't come about for 18 centuries after this, 1800 years. And we know that he was not Greek, so he was not called Christos. So I think you want to say, he says he's telling you these things so you can be with him, have fellowship with him. I think you want to listen to this man when he says something, and he continues in his letter in chapter 4, verse 3, as we call it, and every ruach that does not confess that Yahweh Shua HaMashiach has come in the flesh is not of Yahweh. And this is the Ruach of the anti-Messiah, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. We have some brothers who say he has not come, and they're still looking for him. That's an easy deception right there waiting for someone who does not believe that this man has came, lived, died, and resurrected. Who don't believe that, they have a rude awakening coming, to say the least. And then one more reference from Yochanan, 2 Yochanan 1:7, 2 John 1:7. And you think I'm making a big thing out of nothing. I keep talking about this thing, this same old thing. Nothing else matters. If you're hanging off the cliff by your ankles, by a shoestring, and you was going hiking and you slipped and you hang off the cliff and a shoestring is holding you up, at that time, are you worrying about what you're going to eat for dinner that night? Are you thinking about the argument you had with your wife yesterday? Are you wondering about how you're going to get a raise at work? Are you wondering whether your stomach is getting too fat and what you got to do to lose weight? Nothing else matters. Are you worried about even when the next feast day is? You only have one thing. You have pinpoint attention on one thing. Your life is in a balance from a shoestring hanging on a cleft of a rock. You're not thinking about nothing else. This is where we are. If Yahweh Shua says that we were in the last days 2,000 years ago, what do you think we are in now? Our breath is in our nostrils, the book says. That means your life is in your breath. When you exhale, if you don't inhale no more, you have expired. What else is there to talk about? What else did Noah preach about for 120 years? He did not have an eclectic sermon. He did not have a smorgasbord of topics to talk about. The T-ball, which was the ark, represented Yahweh Shua as the only way, and they only had one door, as the only way of salvation for the impending judgment on the entire earth. There is impending judgment on the entire earth, Yisrael, and I am today's Noah coming here to tell you this every week with the same message, because there ain't nothing else that matters. He says in Luke 17:20 that the kingdom does not come by observation. He said it to the Pharisees because they asked him the same question that the disciples asked him. Hey, when is this going to happen? You know what? Y'all got your Torah portions. Y'all here observing the sun, moon, the stars, and counting every last letter of the Torah. And you trying to observe every which kind of way that you can get in. But you don't fit in, so you ain't getting in. It don't come by observation. That's the answer he gave to the Pharisees, so don't get it twisted. You and I are supposed to look for your groom. You're supposed to study the sun, moon, and stars. You're supposed to know about the appointed times. You're supposed to know all these things because you don't know the exact time he's coming, but you're supposed to know, you're supposed to have an idea. And I keep telling you, the next thing to look for is the next Jubilee, which comes September 26th of this year. But remember, we are not saying, you cannot say when Yahweh Shua is coming. The only thing you can say, and I've been telling you this for years, the exact moment you draw your last breath, that's the second coming. Because at that time, the next time you become conscious, you're becoming conscious for grace or for judgment. Yehonathon we here on the famous 1590 AM. Yahweh Shua says in Acts 4:12. Well, actually, Peter said in Acts 4:12, quoting Joel in Joel 2:32, he said that there is no salvation by any other. Yahweh Shua's very name means salvation. And he said there is no name given to men under heaven by which we must, M-U-S-T. I need to look that up in Hebrew, see how you say that in Hebrew. Because maybe some of you guys will get it. Some of you Israelites will get it. That you must be saved in his name. So it's not me. They're the ones who handled, touched, and ate and drank and walked and talked and slept with Yahweh Shua HaMashiach does not give us any other options. They don't give us any other options. Yahweh Shua says everything comes through him. I just gave you a whole list of scriptures and I read it to you twice. Everything comes through him. Are you getting it? So let's talk about this 144,000. Let's start with 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 and 12. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 and 12. I don't know anybody firsthand more proud than Hebrew Israelites. Because if it was up to them, there'd be untold billions in the 144,000. But you're going to find out today. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 through 12. Talking about the great apostasy. Let no one deceive you by any means, because that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Yahweh, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as Yahweh in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is Yahweh. Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? And now you know what is restraining, that he may be revealed in his own time. Because the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, who Yahweh will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the workings of Ha-Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they do not receive the love of Emet, the Ohab of Emet, of truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason Yahweh will send them strong delusion. They should believe the lie, Ha-Shaker, and they all may be condemned who did not believe the Emet, the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. See, this is the answer to all you people who keep saying it doesn't matter. When I talk about it's only a name, it doesn't matter. Well, that means if it doesn't matter, you already know it's not the truth, then that means you are this talking against you. Because those who love Yahweh love truth. Just get it right. Is it right or is it wrong? Is it true or is it not true? Because one of the signs of 144,000 is they have no lie in their tongue. They don't like error. If it's not true, then it's not true. Nothing untrue is going into Hashemayim. And because these people love lawlessness and they don't love the truth, they're going to be set up for delusion. And Yahweh's going to let them be deluded. They're the ones who are appearing in the sky and talking about the earth is a spinning, wobbling globe, and the sun is millions of miles away, and the moon. All these lies, they are greatly deluded about the universe. About the whole universe, let alone about what's going on inside and on the earth and inside of them. Greatly deluded, all stemming from the beginning of not wanting truth. What's wrong with truth? What's wrong? Is it Yahweh sure or is it Jesus Christ? What is it? I bet the 144,000 know what it is. So we find here we're setting this up about the importance of delineating between what's a pure bride, what's a whole bride, what's a redeemed bride. So let's go ahead and begin with this 144,000, which is only mentioned in two different scriptures, Revelation 7 and Revelation 14. We're going to start with Revelation 7, 1 through 8. Revelation 7, 1 through 8. And it reads, After these things I saw four Malachim standing at the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. Then I saw another Malach ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim, and he cried with a loud voice to the four Malachim, to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Yahweh on their heads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of the Elidut of Yisrael were sealed. Now I'm not going to go ahead and read all. It's 12,000 from each tribe. But it's very noteworthy that it's not from each tribe is listed. So now let's go down to verse 9 through 17. 9 through 17. And now these angels are holding back the four winds. Those four winds are judgment. Judgment is about to come. Before it comes, Yahweh wants to have his elect sealed. Okay, so they're going to be sealed from all the deception that's about to come upon the rest of the world. Now we're skipping down to verse 9 through 17. After these things I looked, and look, a great multitude which no one could number, of all nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, Salvation belongs to our mighty one who sits on the throne and the Lamb. All the Malachim stood around the throne, and the elders and the four living creatures, and all fell on their faces before the throne and worshipped Yahweh, saying, Amen. Blessed and honor and wisdom, thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our mighty one forever. Olam. Amen. Then one of the elders of the answered, saying to me, Who are these arrayed in white robes, and where did they come from? And I said to him, Sir, you know. So he said, These are those who came out of the great tribulation. So the four winds did come upon them, and washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore they are before the throne of Yahweh, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he who sits on the throne will live among them. They will neither hunger anymore nor thirst anymore. The sun will not strike them, nor any heat, because the Lamb who is in the middle of the throne will shepherd them and lead them into the living fountains of waters, and Yahweh will wipe away every tear from their eyes. So we have a separation of those who are saved here. We have the 144,000, and then that great number who are described as in a way that describes Ephraim. When he talks about every tongue, nation, tribe, and peoples, that's the same way Ephraim has been described. So that is us who have been shipped across the earth, to whom the three angels witnessed to. Okay? So there's a distinction, there's a delineation. Remember about the 10 virgins. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. The 5 that had Chokmah, wisdom, were ready. And they came in when the announcement of the groom rang out. And he goes into the wedding feast, and they followed behind him as guests. They were not the bride. So everyone has to stop thinking that they are this chaste bride. And y'all here hoeing right now. So it's very noteworthy if you read the list of the 12,000 from each tribe, that there are 2 tribes not mentioned. One is Dan, and that's a whole other story not going to. But the other one is Ephraim. So that's very important. Of the 10 tribes, they represent Ephraim. Ephraim is the representative of the 10 tribes that has been scattered throughout the world. And in this listing of the 144,000, Ephraim is not listed. They're not in the list. So that tells you right there, those who have been scattered abroad are not part of the 144,000. That's not my opinion. That's not me talking. I don't have no special knowledge, and I didn't write anything in this Bible. Ephraim is not listed, so Ephraim is not part of the 144,000, which is the Western world, which is whom the 3 Malachim angels were preaching to, of the Besorah, which is what you call the gospel, which only testifies of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach, the X-Man. So we find that we're going to go to the other reference of the 144,000, and that is in Revelation 14, 1 through 5. Let's go over a few more chapters. We're going to read Revelation 14, 1 through 5. TORAH. Then I looked, and behold, a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of the loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. They sang as it were a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders, and no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. These are the ones who were not defiled with women, because they are virgins. They are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from the among men, being firstfruits to Yahweh and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no deceit. For they are without fault before the throne of Yahweh. So here we got a little bit more definition or a little more detail on who this group of people are. So combining this with Revelation 7, we see that these 144,000 souls are virgins, and they were not defiled with women, which means they were men. So first of all, if you are a woman, automatically, it don't matter what race, creed, tongue, language, whatever you're not one of the 144,000. They are men. The second thing we know is that they are Hebrew, because Yahweh has made a covenant only with the house of Yisrael, or with Yehuda. There is no covenant nowhere from cover to cover with any other peoples. Yahweh is chaste to one. We're the ones that hold out and like to get and build different ones. Yahweh has only bedded and married one. So they're all Hebrew and they're all male. They follow the land wherever they go. So they ain't going to work tomorrow. They don't go on vacations. These souls you probably have never met or seen before. They are always dedicated for the groom and for his return. They follow him wherever he goes. And they are redeemed from the many. So this is not a symbolic number. I tell you, I do get a little frustrated at times and I see people who have hundreds of thousands of followers and who have great names and have doctorates before they name all this stuff, talking about some symbolic number. Why? How is 144,000 symbolic? It says that this is redeemed from many. So that number is symbolic. Why 144,000? It has to be a specific reason. And from the many are not numbered, because you cannot number the children of Israel. So that number you can't number that number. This is why Dawid was punished so severely when he numbered Yisrael. And we find that throughout the entire Bible, whenever Yahweh numbers his people, it is for war. Yahweh does not number just because he want to figure out how many women we have, how many blacks, how many whites, how many Italian, how many whatever. How many Spanish, how many in age of the 30s, how many in the 40s, what zip code to live in. Yahweh does not do stupid, dumb stuff like that, which we do census for the sakes of whatever it's for. Yahweh does a census for war. And no one is counted but the men of age for war. So you got 19 to 50. So someone 60 years old, male, is not being counted. No women are counted. No children are counted. No old men are counted. That's all part of the remnant. They are the ones who are not countable. Whenever Yahweh counts, we got to look at his mind and where he's coming from, not where we coming from. And this just irks me that people who are supposed to know so much, who have so great, huge followings, don't know what they're talking about. Because people love a lie. When Yahweh counts, he's counting for war. He counts his people. He's counting for war. It ain't just because he ain't got nothing else to do. And it's a literal specific number. When you read, there was two major countings. One when we came out of, after we crossed the Sea of Reeds, and before we was going to enter into the Kodesh land, Yahweh did a census count. Then we didn't go in. 39 years later, Yahweh did a second census account. And in each of those counts, I don't want to look for it now, but the numbers are so specific. Like 102,005 and stuff like that. I don't want to. Wow, that'd been great right now if I could just find that. But I talked about it right here. the 2 census counts that Yahweh took. And the numbers were so specific to the number. Yahweh didn't leave out, if it was 3,004, he didn't leave out the 4 and just round it off. No numbers were rounded off in those 2 censuses that Yahweh took of Israel. He took 2. One after we came out of Egypt, one before we went into the Holy Land. 2 censuses of every man of war. Didn't count the women and children nor the old men. And he didn't round off any numbers. So what makes you think that 144,000 is symbolic? If you love lies. If you love lies, you think the 144,000 is symbolic. No, he said 144,000. That's exactly what it means. We're so used to lying out of our mouths and not saying what we mean. We don't take Yahweh seriously when he says things out of his mouth. When he speaks, he means what he says. He's not like us that he should lie. He's not like a man that he should lie. Believe what he says. It's 144,000, of which you are not it. Now, so these are the first fruits. Now, this separates the Hebrews for the Goyim. And this tells us we got more than one bride coming at these last days. We got this pure bride, the 144,000. Then you have the redeemed bride. That's Ephraim, the uncountable number. And of course you got the whole bride who refuses to be clean, refuses to be chaste. Now, about this first fruits, this again shows how important Yahweh Shua is. Notice how after the resurrection, Yahweh Shua offered himself as the first of the first fruits. It's not just a first fruits. The record talks about the first of the first fruits. Yahweh Shua is the first of the first fruits, the resurrection of the dead. And he offered himself as a wave offering and a sheep offering to Yahweh, as a burnt sacrifice. Then you have the other first fruits, which is us, which does not get burned, and that gets offered. That shows the importance of understanding the Kodesh Moedim, the appointed times. Because you have, Shavuot was last month. It comes 50 days after the first fruits, which is Yahweh Shua. So he is the Abib, and this is important. We don't study this because we're trying to keep 613 commandments. We study these because we are looking for our groom, like we are commanded to do that. If you love him, you look for him. If you got it on the calendar, you taking the children to Disney World, you have it on the calendar, and the children are looking forward to that day. They're looking for it. They're not going to forget, and then you wake up and say, oh, we go today? They know it ahead of time. This is the same thing with our groom. We are looking forward to him. So we look for we study these Torah portions. We study these. We keep these feast days because they all point to him. He was the first fruits, and 50 days later, then we are the rest of the sheaf offering, which is waved with Laban, whereas Yahweh Shua was waved without Laban. That all means something. I spoke about that, been speaking about that for years on these feast days. 1 Corinthians 15 and 23. 1 Corinthians 15 and 23. And then if you don't see Yahweh Shua in these things, then you're on a learning curve. This is why we need to get these feast days correct. 1 Corinthians 15 and 23, and it reads, but each one, okay, this is talking about the order of the resurrection. So let me go even before verse 23. Let's go to verse 20. But now the Messiah is risen from the dead and has become the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. So that's what I just got finished saying. Because since by man came death, by man also came the resurrection of the dead. And as in Adam all die, even so the Messiah all will be made alive. But each one in his own order. Yahweh does everything in order. Hamashiach, the first fruits, afterward those who are of Messiahs at his coming. Then comes the end when he delivers the kingdom to Yahweh and the Father, when he puts an end to all rule and all authority and power. So that speaks to what I just got finished saying. Now let's go to Exodus 23:19, first portion of that, for a background on that. Okay, Exodus 23:19. I'm going to go to Exodus 23:19. To look at where we're getting this from. about this first fruits. This is why you do need to know the about the feast days and about the sacrifices and all that. It's all important. It's just to get you to understand your bridegroom better. That's all. Not because you're trying to keep 613 commandments. And it reads, the first of the first fruits. This is what I got fans saying. Of your land you will bring into the bed of Yahweh, your mighty one. You will not boil a young... Okay, forget that part. So this is the first of the first fruits. Yahweh Shua is the first of the first fruits. And I submit that the 144,000 are the first fruits. And then we come after that. Let's go to Leviticus 2 and 12 for a second witness. Leviticus 2 and 12 for a second witness. And it reads, as for the offering of the first fruits, you will offer them to Yahweh, but they will not be burned on the altar for a sweet aroma. So this one is not burned. So that shows that the first fruits, and if you go down to verse 13, you see they must be salted. So Ephraim is the salt of the earth. We're supposed to salt the earth. But in verse 14, it's interesting. Let's read verse down to 14. It says, if you offer a grain offering of your first fruits to Yahweh, you will offer the grain offering of your first fruits, green heads of grain, roasted on fire, grain beaten from the 4 heads. So you got one part of this first fruits, looks like here, based on what I'm reading here, that doesn't get burned, and then you got another part that does get burned. And I submit that that's the maybe a tribulation part, because you got one part not burned and one part is burned. And you also have two kinds of first fruits. You have a first of the first fruits, and I submit that's Yahweh Shua. Then you have the regular first fruits. So there is a delineation of groups of resurrections, everything in order, like Shaul said in 1 Corinthians 15, talking about the order of those who are saved. There is a hierarchy going on here. That's why I tell you there's two brides. You have the pure bride, and then you have the redeemed bride. And we are the redeemed bride. And the 144,000 are the pure bride. Okay, this is what I submit here based on these scriptures. Now let's go to Acts 11, 1 through 18. Acts 11, 1 through 18. And it reads, and this is talking about, this is when the sermon from Peter vindicating the ministry of the Goyim. Okay, because we talked about that Yahweh made a covenant with Yehuda, he made a covenant with Israel, and no other nation. But now we got these laid in the chest Hebrews that want to say they're not supposed to send this word to anyone else. They want to keep it to themselves. And we had Shavuot, and we had this word going out to the Gentiles. But those of the circumcision party, headed by the Edomite leaders, don't like this. So now that's what the backdrop of this story is. Now the apostles and brethren who were in Judea heard that the Goyim had also received the word of Yahweh. And when Peter had come up to Jerusalem, those of the circumcision contended with him, saying, you went into uncircumcised men and ate with them. But Peter explained it to them in order from the beginning, saying, I was in the city of Joppa praying, and in a trance I saw a vision, an object descending like a great sheet let down from Hashemayim by 4 corners, and it came to me. When I observed it intently and considered, I saw 4-footed animals of the earth, wild beasts, creeping things, and birds of the air. And I heard a voice saying to me, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But I said, No, master, because nothing common or unclean has at any time entered my mouth. But the voice answered me again from Hashemayim, What Yahweh has cleansed, you must not call common. Now this was done 3 times, and all were drawn up again into Hashmaim. At that very moment 3 men stood before the house where I was, having been sent to me from Caesarea. Then the Ruach told me to go with them, doubting nothing. Moreover, those 6 brethren accompanied me, and we entered the man's house. And he told us how he had seen a Malach standing in his house, and who said to him, Send men to Joppa, and call for Simon, whose surname is Peter, who will tell you words by which you and all your household will be saved. And as I began to speak, the Ruach HaKodesh fell on them as on us at the beginning. Then I remembered the word of Yahweh, how he said, John indeed baptized with water, but you will be baptized with Ruach HaKodesh. If therefore Yahweh then gave them the same gift as he gave us when we believed on Yahweh Shua HaMashiach our Master, who was I that I could withstand Yahweh? When they heard these things, they became silent, and they honored Yahweh, saying, Then Yahweh has also granted to the Goyim repentance of life. So this again, like I said, it goes to the story how once, remember we were talking about the beast and how these beasts, Yahweh is educating us and teaching us through animals. And why did he choose animals? In this dream, Peter had 3 times animals, unclean animals and clean all, and the sheep was lower for him to eat. Animals. But what did it teach him? It taught him that now this Besorah, what you call gospel, was to go out to Jew and Gentile, if you will. Why does Yahweh keep using animals to teach us? We had to slay animals on the sacrifice, and we got Daniel's visions, and we got Yachanan's vision, and all these beasts and animals are involved. It's because we listen to the beasts in the garden. Since you're going to go ahead and act like a beast, listen to a beast, subject yourself to a beast who was speaking to you from a tree, which you should have put him in his place and exercise your authority and told him to get away from here. Should rebuke the beast. Instead, we hearken to the beast and listen to him. We submitted ourselves underneath of a beast, the serpent, of whom the accuser was inside of. So because we did that, now throughout all to the end of days, we're going to be educated through beast. They're going to be the ones teaching us. So this is why he used the beast. And this shows how now this message, the same thing that was given in Shavuot, the same Ruach that was given to the original 120 is to go out to Ephraim. And then we do have our beautiful sisters and brothers waking up all over the world. Most of you are loud and wrong, but that's fine. So after the earthquake, we all going to get it then. We're all going to be on one accord. We're not now, but we will be. And this message is equal to Yisrael as it is to Yehuda. 2 Chronicles 5 and 12. Talk about this 144,000. Okay? So we got 2 Chronicles 5 and 12. And it reads, and the Levites who were, and there's this, let me give you the backdrop first. I'm sorry. I apologize. This of the Shekinah glory that fills the house when Shlomo has the temple built. Okay, this is our first temple, and there's a whole list of order of things that are done. So now I'm going down to verse 12 of 2 Chronicles 5. And the Levites who were the singers, all those of Asaph and Heman and Jeduthun, with their sons and their brethren, stood at the east end of the altar, clothed in white linen, having cymbals, stringed instruments, and harps, and with them 120 priests sounding with trumpets. And now let's compare that to Revelation 14:3. Remember in Revelation 14:3, we talked about how this 144,000, and also going along with Revelation 7, They sang a song that only they could sing. This comes from the Old Testament of the Levites who sang this song that was written by David, if I remember correctly. So this 144,000 are a special group because they're going to end up teaching us with these songs and guiding us, because Ephraim, which is represented by the seed of Mother Hawa, who was deceived, Ephraim has to go through the process of tribulation and of not being deceived. Okay, we have to go through not being deceived. And this song we're not able to sing. Only the 144,000 are able to sing it. This comes from 2 Chronicles. Also, they had harps and linen. So we find that this also mirrors 144,000. This is a foreshadowing of the 144,000. The markers of singing, of playing on harps, and of wearing this white linen. And this number 120 speaks to Acts 1:15, the 120 in the upper room. So this is a foreshadowing of a special group. That group that received the original Ruach HaKodesh of the 120 men and women. There was men and women in the upper room. That is like a type of 144,000 for the Goyim outside of that. Remember, Peter came out and they all spoke in tongues, and they shared this message, the Besorah, to the whole represented world. 70 nations, 70 original nations. That's what the 120 did. So that's just like in the latter days, it's 144,000 who's going to share it with all the rest of us. So I brought that scripture up to show as a foreshadowing of the 144,000. So that comes from 2 Chronicles 5 and 12. And I want you to compare that to Revelation 14, particularly Revelation 14 and 3. And also Revelation 7. Now, let's go to Ezekiel 9, 3 through 6. Ezekiel 9, 3 to 6. This is Yehonathan Dawit with you here, humbly so, on the famous WFBR 1590 AM, talking about the 144,000 and the uncountable number. So, Ezekiel 9, 3 through 6, and it reads, Now the honor of Yahweh of Israel had gone up from the cherub where it had been to the threshing floor of the temple. And he called to the man clothed with linen, who had the writer's inkhorn at his side. And Yahweh said to him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and cry over the abominations that are done within it. To the others he said in my hearing, Go after him through the city and kill. Do not let your eye spare, nor have any pity. Utterly slay old and young, men, maidens, and little children, and women, and do not come near anyone on whom is the mark. And begin at my sanctuary, so that they began with the elders who were before the temple. That is deep. That sounds harsh, but it's true. Yahweh says, start at my temple, start with my people, and they started with slaying the elders. But who didn't they slay? Those who are marked. Those who are marked on their head. Who else gets a mark on their forehead? Those who love the beast and his lies. So Hasatan, remember, he is a copycat. He only copies what Yahweh does. He has no originality. He knows that Yahweh's people, his elect, are to be marked. So he's going to have his elect marked. And Yahweh's going to kill them too. But we see here that judgment begins at the house of Yisrael. Now think about this. Yahweh says, don't even have pity. Remember, in Yahweh for Christians, we have shown and taught, and I haven't done it this year, but those first 5 seals have already happened. Within those first 5 seals, part of that was, you had plenty of things. You know, remember you had the plagues, the bubonic plague, and then you had the plague with the rats and all that stuff, and millions were killed, and all kinds of plagues going on during that time. You had the Holy Wars. You had the Spanish Inquisition. All these things were attacks on Yahweh's people. And then the crowning jewel, if you will, of it all was the Western world's transatlantic slave trade. At any point in time, if we were alive at that time, we would have thought that was the last days. Any of those times. If you were being boiled in an iron pig, or if the Spanish Inquisition was knocking on your door, or if everybody in your household died from a bubonic plague, at any time, you would have thought that was the last days. Now remember, Yakanan said that the anti-Messiah was with them already even at that time. The thing is, all of us, each generation has this apocalyptic age. Yahweh Shua is justified of returning at any time. That being the case, we must all be pressed. There are markers set that point to the return of Yahweh Shua. Our first century forefathers thought he was coming even then. But we see that was 2,000 years ago and he has not come. If you were living during the time of World War I, you would have thought he was coming. World War II, the same thing. Definitely if you was in the cotton fields being whipped and your mother being raped and all, you would have thought this was the last days. I mean, at any time, Yahweh Shua is justified coming, and there are anti-messiahs and false prophets for every generation. So when Yahweh Shua allows for the revelation that we read in the beginning of this lesson today, Shaul says that time is not going to come until Yahweh allows for that man to be revealed. If Yahweh wanted it, it could have been Hitler, could have been Lenin, it could have been Stalin. At any moment, it could have been George Bush, could have been Reagan, could have been whomever, could have been Putin, it could be whomever, Queen Elizabeth. At any moment, Yahweh has to go and allow it to come to fruition. So we're not here do not follow anyone who tells you that exactly who is try to predict or prophesy any specific thing. That's a false prophet. We know that every generation has its apocalypse, and we are having ours. We got this COVID crisis going on, whatever. We have things going on that we've never had to deal with before. Never. In our age. And there's already always an anti-Messiah waiting to raise his head should Yahweh allow it. There's always a false prophets continuing anyway. But specifically the anti-Messiah is the one that has to raise his head. Now, I'm telling you, I believe right now you can look at this young man named Archie. Okay, coming from the Richie and whatever the queen is, the princess is. I talked about that a couple years ago. But I'm also open to the anti-Messiah being a female, because in the scriptures, even right now in these last days, they don't even want you to use he, she, and all that. They're obfuscating the lines of male and female. This is also what Hasatan did in the very beginning. He is a male. He entered into a female serpent. And if you look at the scriptures from Hebrew eyes, and you realize how they did the interpretation of the Hebrew scriptures, you'll see that they have taken out or left to the reader's abilities whether many of these people are identified as male or female anyway. Okay, that's called perpetual in perpetuitum. I talk about that in my first book. Okay, Kyrie in perpetuitum, I think that's what it's called. And that's when the reader has to understand the context of the scripture they're reading as to whether they're talking about a male or female. That being said, and this is what the era of Roth has set up for part of the great deception in these last days. You already got those who do not believe the Messiah came in the flesh already set up for deception. But you also have even Hebrews who are looking for a black Messiah. That's they set up for a deception. And then you have everyone who thinks it's going to be a male. So everybody who thinks it has to be a male is set up for deception. Because what if it's going to be a so-called black female, which is what it could be? Who's set up to be your next president? Should this one who you think is alive? I tell you, I don't even think Biden is a real man. I think that's not a real lie. That's a mankind right there. If you think that's a real man, you go ahead and say that. But I don't see him surviving the term. If he does, fine, whatever. But should something happen to him, who's next in charge? A black female with a Jewish husband. There's your connection right there. So there's always someone available to step in that role should Yahweh allow it. It's always there. So we must always be on the ready. We must always be on the ready. The 144,000 are set for war against Gog and Magog. That's why they were numbered. That's why they were numbered. And they are of the New Jerusalem city bride that's going to come down in Revelation 21. They are sealed with the knowledge of the new song, giving understanding before the great tribulation. They represent the legal seed of Adam. Ephraim represents the grace. So next week we want to talk about this church judgment. You call it church if you will. Okay, we're going to talk about this judgment that's going on in the backdrop of this lesson today. So until then, Yehonathon we with here. Yahweh for Christian. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.